You're telling me a 62-year-old man, father of 4, is gonna get up, who can barely breathe to begin with, and run and attack you in his own home where he locked and he felt safe in?
Police in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, shot and killed a 62-year-old man with schizophrenia who was alone in his apartment because they say, quote, he was a danger to himself. A danger to himself, so they killed him. Now, this was during, of course, a wellness check. Another one of the many reasons why you need to defund the police and move many of these calls to other areas. Why are the police answering wellness checks when they're murdering the people that they're supposed to be there to help? It's completely insane. Now, the man killed, his name is Ijaz Ahmed Chowdhury. Let me first show you a CBC report on this that gives you kind of the context of what went on.
Friends, family, and community members have been rallying outside the scene here in Mississauga throughout the morning. We just heard from the family. They're calling for a public inquiry into the death of Ijaz Ahmed Chowdhury. They have a lot of questions. They say Chowdhury was harmless and he was not a threat and that this shouldn't have happened. Now, the SIU released 2 statements today saying officers were called to the scene here on Morningstar Drive around 5 last night to check on the well-being of a man. Officers say Chowdhury barricaded himself within his residence and that they had communication with him until around 8 p.m. when it stopped for 15 minutes. Police made the decision to enter, saying they believed he had access to weapons and was a danger to himself. The statement goes on to say that when police entered the unit, officers used a taser on the man and fired plastic bullets, and said when that had no effect, an officer shot a firearm and Chowdhury died on scene. Now, we spoke with the victim's brother as well as several of his nephews. They told CBC News that Chowdhury had schizophrenia and also suffered from other medical conditions.
Where does it make sense? Any normal person will say, no, it's not right. It's completely wrong. My uncle was harmless. He could barely take 3-4 steps. After his 3rd or 4th step, he'd have to sit down because he couldn't breathe. You're telling me a 62-year-old man, father of 4, is gonna get up, who can barely breathe to begin with, and run and attack you in his own home where he locked and he felt safe in? How does that make sense? You're saying, oh, there was a scene between the officers and Ijaz, my mom. It makes no sense.
The family also said last night they were pleading with police to allow one of the family members to speak with Chowdhury. They said that he doesn't speak English, that his condition makes him very paranoid, and that he's afraid of police. The family said that they had also dealt with this kind of situation before. They say he leaves behind a wife and 4 children, the youngest just 7 years old. Anyone with any information or witness video is being asked to contact the lead investigator of this case. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Mississauga.
All right, so there is actually footage of this. So this was posted on Twitter by Ibrahim Hindi. He says here, this is insane. This happened in Malton today, which is an area in Mississauga. The police were called because a man was suffering a mental health crisis. So what did the police do? They climbed a ladder, entered the apartment from the balcony, and opened fire on the man, shooting him multiple times. So let's watch this video. All right. Now, based on the report from what the police claim, as was discussed in the CBC piece on this, the cops had used a taser and then used, I guess, what she called plastic bullets. And then when that didn't work, then they shot him. Now, let's put aside the fact that here they are climbing into his fucking house with a ladder into his balcony, which is obviously going to scare a man who already has schizophrenia. But putting all that aside, all of this happened really quickly. So if he was tasered and they used these plastic bullets and then they shot, I mean, this was all within a matter of 5 seconds. So did they give actual time for anything else to occur here? Did they actually try to help the man before they killed him? Now, let me show you the report here. This CTV News report is exactly what the media always does. Takes the police framing of the entire situation. So here they say, 62-year-old man dead after police-involved shooting. They never say police killed a man. Police-involved shooting. Who did the shooting? Who knows? Police involved shooting. In Mississauga, SIU investigating. The SIU is the Special Investigations Unit. They're the ones that look into these sorts of cases and investigate if the police acted accordingly. Now, of course, the very first video they put up here is the police officer here discussing what happened, as opposed to showing, the family discussing it. But here, so there are a number of things here really worth noting. So Patton, referring to Sarah Patton, the officer, the constable, Patton noted that police believe the man had access to weapons inside the home at the time. So they're not even saying that he was holding a weapon. He had access to weapons. So what is access to weapons? How about, that knife block on your counter in the kitchen where you use to chop vegetables with? That's having access to weapons. So that's all they have to say. And all of a sudden here, framing it from the police perspective, oh, well, he had access to weapons, so we had to kill him. There's 3 of them, an elderly man with schizophrenia. The only thing you can do, you got to kill the guy. It's so insane. Communication was made with the man. However, he had barricaded himself inside his residence. Okay, it's his home, so that gives you the right to now break in. We continue communication for a period of time. She noted the man stopped all communications with police just before 8 p.m., maybe because he wanted them to go away. Due to information received on the extensive medical history the man had, as well as the man refusing to speak to police any longer, the decision was made to enter the residence to check on his well-being. They entered his residence with a ladder, breaking into his home to check on his well-being. And they were so concerned about his well-being that they killed him. They literally say here, we believe that he was a danger to himself. How the hell do you say this after you killed him? He was a danger to himself to the point that he was going to what? Kill himself? So you kill him first? This is completely nuts. Now, the NDP have come out saying here he was shot by police during a mental health check. There must be a full, transparent public inquiry. Add your name to demand justice. I haven't seen any other party come out yet. Maybe they have, but I haven't seen any other party do this yet. I also want to highlight here the GoFundMe page for Ijaz Chowdhury. So I will link to this below the video. This is to help his wife and his family now that he's been killed by the police for a well-being check. If you're not on board with defunding the police yet, what the hell else do you have to see? Why are the police answering wellness checks and then murdering the people that need help? The only debate here is how much defunding. So, at the very least, the starting point has to be taking these sorts of calls away from the cops, taking homelessness calls away from the cops. I mean, putting real investment into public housing, into public health care. I mean, there has to be alternative ways there are alternative ways to deal with these sorts of issues, with these sorts of calls. You don't need armed officers breaking into a man's home that has schizophrenia. He's, by the way, again, alone. He's alone in the home. He's not a danger to anybody. He's alone in the home. They broke in and they killed him. There was no other way of looking at the situation. That is what happened. So hopefully there is real justice here, and hopefully this begins to open people's minds to the reality that the police need to be defunded.